What's going on, people? It's your boy KelechIwuaba back with another video. If this is your first time around these parts, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy anything that we're talking about in this video, hit that like button. Turn that thing blue. You know you want to. You like my face. But anyway, today we're going to be going over my single stock portfolio. I decided, you know what? Maybe I should bring this series back. Before a lot of y'all joined the channel, I had a series going on where I would do invest in $50 every 2 weeks. Why it was only $50 was because that's the amount of money that I had at the point in time. I'm still doing those $50 every 2 weeks, and I've been transferring that into my M1 Finance portfolio. By the way, if you want to check out M1 Finance, you can go down in the description below. If you use my link, you're going to get yourself $30 to start investing for the free, literally free money. You ain't got to do anything. You just get the free money. M1 Finance is going to give you $30 for you to go ahead and start investing. I like M1 Finance. I believe it's one of the best platforms that you can use to invest. It's where I primarily try to invest my loose dollars that is not in my Roth IRA. But they do have a Roth IRA feature as well, if you're savvy enough to be able to use it. But anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about. So I decided to invest $50 every 2 weeks to make sure that I get into the idea of investing, because part of investing is really just a mentality thing, is getting into the mentality that I'm going to do this thing. And so I made it a priority that every paycheck that I get, $50, is going to go into my investment account. Whether I actually invest that money into a business or I just keep the money in the account. It forced me to start thinking about my money a little bit differently. So I did that. I also did the challenge. As you guys already know, I have the Robinhood portfolio. If you haven't seen that video, hit that link up here. Go check that video out talking about how I am a lazy investor. That's my lazy investing way, where I don't really do that much research. I just invest in ETFs because I believe ETFs are one of the best ways you can invest, because I don't know what's going to happen down the line. And so I need to hedge my bets a little bit. But in this portfolio, it's going to be a little bit different. So let's go into the computer. As you can see on the computer, it says passive income. The idea of this portfolio was I wanted to see if I could generate passive income when it comes to investing. I was watching a guy named Joseph Carsley. He has a great YouTube channel. He does a lot of really good discussions on investing, how to invest. I've learned a lot from his channel. And I was like, yo, that would be dope to make passive income. I don't have to do anything when it comes to investing. I didn't even know that dividends were a thing. I was like, what? And so that's how this platform got started. That's how I got started investing on this platform. And so in this video, we're just going to go through the stocks that I have in here, and I'll give you guys a theory of why I selected some of the companies that I have selected in this portfolio. And as you can see, I'm actually beating the market. Like if we look at my holdings in this account, if I look at just my unrealized gains, I'm 16%. If we look up the S&P 500, let's look that up real quick. S&P 500, enter on Google. In the last year, the S&P 500 has done 3.5%. Actually, that's year to date. 1 year. Let's go 1 year. My bad. S&P 500 has gone up 16%. So I've basically just mirrored the market for the most part. But then when you go back into my portfolio and you look at my total returns, this is the beautiful thing about dividends. If you look at the stock market as a whole, some of the big returns that a lot of people have gotten is not from actually their investing, it's actually from their dividends being reinvested back, which has gotten their returns to be much higher. In my case, it basically doubled my return from investment. And that's just because I got like $22 from dividend reinvesting. So to me, I love that whole idea of dividend reinvestment, which is why I love this portfolio. I love this platform, M1 Finance. It allows you to do that so seamlessly and so easily. But anyway, let's go through my portfolio. Another reason I love M1 Finance is the way it does the pies. It just makes it so easy. If you want to see a video of me going through how to set up and create pies, let me know. Put it down in the comments below. But anyway, let's get into it. As you can see, my biggest stake of any company or of any sector is in technology. The reason why it's technology because I know more in technology than anything else. I'm a tech nerd. I love watching videos about different tech stuff. I would watch videos about tech all the time. I wish I started investing back when I was in college because I was always inundated with technology. And so that's why I'm in technology. And if you look at the companies that I have in technology, I am heavily weighted to Microsoft. The reason for that is, well, the two companies is Microsoft and Apple, but I am heavily weighted and heavily biased towards Microsoft. One, I still say, like you guys heard me say in my Robinhood portfolio, Microsoft is the best worst mistake that I've ever made when it comes to investing, because I just kind of had a luck of the draw when it came to Microsoft. But then as I've done more research, I think Microsoft is one of those companies that is kind of slept on, because when people talk about the big FANG stocks, or maybe we should start calling them the TANG stocks, because Tesla just overtook Facebook in market share. Like, what? But anyway, when you talk about the big FANG stocks, you don't think about Microsoft. Nobody ever mentions Microsoft. But Microsoft is super sneaky with the way that it's already infiltrated everybody in enterprise, with the way that its cloud business, it continues to grow, because businesses like Walmart, businesses like Target, businesses like Etsy, businesses like Shopify, businesses of those kind of calibers are looking to diversify themselves away from Amazon, which Amazon Web Services is the biggest provider of cloud services. And so they're looking for ways to avoid Amazon and make sure that they're not giving Amazon more money. That's where Microsoft steps in. And Microsoft has slowly but surely been growing its market share to be able to match Amazon. And I think it owns like 30%, where Amazon still owns like 40-something%. But Microsoft has grown its Azure cloud services to be a big one. And I think a lot of people are also sleeping on Microsoft as a gaming platform, as a gaming beast. A lot of people only think about like PS4s and the number of PS4s that they're selling and all that kind of stuff. Microsoft has moved on from focusing on just the buying the hardware itself, because it's no longer focused on that. It's focused on creating the content. It's focused on buying the companies that are making the game. It doesn't care if you're playing the game on a PS4 or on a Nintendo or on your cell phone or on your computer. It doesn't care anymore. That's why it created Microsoft X Cloud, which is unbelievable. I'm just saying, again, I'm very bullish on Microsoft, as you guys have heard, and that's why I keep on putting more and more and more money into Microsoft, because I just believe that Microsoft, of all the tech companies, is one of those that is just positioning itself to continue to grow into the future. And then the next company that I have on here is Apple. You guys know Apple. Even though I was somebody who hated Apple, I still don't like Apple products. I still don't buy any Apple products, but the thing is, I still buy it for my mom because it's the easiest cell phone for her to use. My siblings, except for my little brother, everybody else uses an iPhone. And so for me, that loyalty just exemplifies Apple. And that's why I'm like, yo, even though I may not use the product, I know too many people who continually choose to use the product. Plus, Apple continues to evolve itself, going into wearables, going into services. And so it's just a company that continues to position itself for the long run. And then we also have to look back and pay attention to the fact that it's also trying to get into the car business. We've talked about the iCar in the past. So that's the reason why these are my two biggest companies. I may include other companies in the future, but for right now, these are the companies that I'm heavily focused on. I want to get out of the mindset of having $100 going to 10 companies. Rather, I want to have $100 going to one company because it's going to be my bigger bet. So if we look further down the line, we have real estate. Again, when I first started investing, a lot of these companies were like, oh, I should do this because of dividends. I should do that because of dividends. And I was investing in too many companies. I've said that before. Nowadays, I'm more focused. I'm more focused on like a few companies that I really, really believe in, and those are the companies that I'm investing in. But my real estate companies are Store Capital, which is a mid-cap company. I think it has a lot of room for potential based on some of the things that I've read, some of the investment theses that I've watched, and some of the research that I've done on my own. But I still don't understand the business that well. Same with Realty Income Corp. I don't understand REITs that well. However, I do know that they are some of the best dividend paying companies. I've continued to learn more about the way they operate and some of the things that I should be watching for in that industry. But I can't tell you that, oh, I know everything when it comes to REITs. Next is the financial services sector. And the only company I have as far as in my M1 finance portfolio is Bank of America. Now, I see Bank of America, and really you should be somewhat exposed to financials, because as much as people think that we're going into a cryptocurrency space, until that ever happens, all the money that is routed throughout the entire United States and basically almost through the world is basically through one of 5 banks: Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup. These 5 banks basically rule everything. And so you need some kind of exposure in that. That doesn't mean you just invest in any one of them, but it does mean that you position yourself to invest in them. If you look at a lot of people as far as in the investing community on YouTube, they're always talking about JP Morgan Chase because they feel like it's positioned to be one of the better banks moving into the future because it's more tech savvy and those kind of things. For me, Bank of America feels better because I still go around whenever I go to people, and these are young people, The bank that still has to interface with all your online banks, a lot of them still use Bank of America, which means as much as those tech services are great, Bank of America still seems to be more popular than other banks out there. Plus, it also helps that Warren Buffett still invested more money into Bank of America, but that should not be an investment thesis. It just makes me feel good that I invested in a company that Warren Buffett is invested into. And then we go from there into my utilities and energy. So utilities and energy is an interesting one because I actually work in this industry, and so I know this industry a little bit better than most people, and I see some of the things that are changing in the industry, and I know some of the companies that are evolving themselves to match up to those changes. Southern Company is one of those companies. Utilities are kind of slept on, but utilities are great, especially because most of the time when there's a turbulent period, utilities are always a store of wealth because guess what? People still got to pay their power. And so for me, Southern Company, NextEra Energy is another one that I would definitely be investing in because both of these companies are positioning themselves for the renewable industry revolution. Pay attention to, don't go searching for all those, this is my thing. I will not go searching for tiny renewable companies. What I'm looking for is for the companies that are going to use those technologies because most of the time, those companies are going to be around for much longer. However, if you're looking for boom or bust, then I'll go for much smaller companies like SunPower or something like that. And finally, the last section is kind of a forgotten sector in my investing portfolio, which is my consumer products, which is things like Disney, Costco, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. These were investments that I made very early on. I mean, I literally only put like $10 in it. And of course, the returns look amazing in here, mainly because I didn't invest any more money. So if you compare my returns in my consumer products, if we go to my holdings, to the returns that I've had, let's go to unrealized gain. Compared to the returns that I've had in my Microsoft, for example, it doesn't look that good, but that's because I've been consistently investing in Microsoft compared to the rest of them. Like my best return is on Disney at 72% because I haven't put any more money into it. However, Disney has only given me back like what is that? $16, giving me $16 back from a $22 investment. So, I mean, it's not like anything to write home about, to be honest. So at the end of the day, those have been my biggest returns because I just haven't put any more money into them. And I'm not going to try and put any more money into it. Do I believe in these companies? For sure. Because I believe Walmart is well positioned to counter Amazon more than any other business. I talked about it a lot on my podcast, which, by the way, I have a podcast. It's called the Rambling Mind Podcast. If you haven't heard about it, go check it out in the link in the description. We talk about all things personal finance and business news every Tuesday and Thursday. So go check that thing out. But I talked about Walmart a lot early last year, 2 years ago, before the pandemic, and how Walmart was well positioned to counteract Amazon because Walmart has a bunch more stores than Amazon has fulfillment centers, which allows them to do the same day deliveries that Amazon has been finding it difficult to do. And plus, it has the merchandise in store. And so that way, even if you don't want to leave your house, you just get them to deliver it the same day. That's something that Amazon is still trying to figure out, which is why I love Walmart. Costco is a revelation to me because my roommate really loves Costco. I didn't know about Costco like that. I knew people really love Costco. One of the podcasts I love to listen to is called Jalen and Jacoby, and Jacoby is a huge Costco stan. And so that's another reason that I was like, oh, that's a good brand. And plus, people who love Costco absolutely love Costco. Like it's nothing else. The brand loyalty is unbelievable. And if we look at a company like Coca-Cola, it's just Coca-Cola. Like it's very interesting. However, I moved to position myself more in Pepsi, and I probably will look more into Pepsi because its payout ratio is much lower than Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is at like 90-something% dividend payout ratio, and that's because Coca-Cola is just an old company that's been around for so long. And so innovating and changing itself is very different. Plus, I started paying more attention on TV and around the things that people actually buy on a daily basis, especially people my age or younger. It's usually Pepsi products. And I'm not talking about Pepsi itself. I'm talking about the ancillary stuff, the types of chips that people buy, the gaming stuff that they do. It's always with the Super Bowl. So for me, Pepsi is positioning itself to maybe not take away Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola is an iconic brand, but it's positioning itself very well. I think that's it. And then Disney. I think Disney I was right on this thesis of Disney. I was so right, but I didn't have more money to throw into it. The thesis was basically this. Disney needed to cut its dividend so that it could focus on reinvesting that money to challenge Netflix as a streaming service. That was my general thesis on Disney. And then the pandemic forced Disney to actually take action and do exactly that. And then they've just basically told everybody like, oh, we're suspending our dividend. And I knew that Disney's catalog of movies, because I love Marvel movies and I also love old Disney movies. And I knew that if they could just hit a good movie, they would be good. And then they released Mandalorian, and the rest is history. I mean, they have, close to over 100 million subscribers at this point. So I was right. I just didn't have money to be able to make my investment in Disney at that point in time. And that's another thing. Sometimes you're going to be right when it comes to investment thesis. The only problem is, if you ain't got the capital to gain on that investment thesis, it doesn't really matter. But you know, it's okay. And that's okay. It's a learning lesson. You keep learning, you keep growing, you keep understanding how to look at a company, how to position yourself to understand businesses, to understand companies, to understand the way that they work and the way that you can make it work for yourself when it comes to investing. But anyway, that's my entire portfolio as a whole. I really love it. I have another portfolio up here, but I'm not about to show you guys that one because it will show my account number. But basically, the other portfolio is big bets. These are companies that I'm making, basically, if they lose all their money, I'm fine as well. If it go bankrupt, I'm fine. These are companies like Lemonade that I've talked about in the past, Airbnb, Tattooed Chef is one that I'm looking at, Dropbox, and those kind of companies, but that's not in this portfolio. And we'll talk about that one another time. Let me know, do you want to see a weekly update of how I'm positioning myself in this account? One thing that I'm learning is I'm not necessarily always going to be making moves, because I'm learning that sometimes it's more important for you to have a margin of safety than anything else. But anyway, I'm gonna catch you all up on the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace.